Hi guys, I said I would record this video for you and I'm going to try to make it speedy. This is the video for Unit 6 music if you were gone when we started the discussion in class last week or so. So we're looking at what was happening in terms of music in the Renaissance, both in Italy and in Northern Europe. So actually this covers last unit, Renaissance in Italy, and now Unit 6, Renaissance in Northern Europe. And so just to remind you of a few things, we talked about when we first looked at music, how music in the church is what's called part of the Mass or the service, and that's a lot of what we're going to be looking at is church music. In the beginning, we're going to be looking at Pre-Reformation. So before there was any dissent, before Martin Luther nailed the theses on the door, how was the Catholic Church playing music, organizing music, singing music? And then we're going to look at Reformation music. How did music change because of people like Martin Luther, reformers like Martin Luther? And then we're going to look at Counter-Reformation music. So how did the Catholic Church change its music because of Martin Luther and other Protestant reformers? So on your notes sheet, which I would suggest you have in front of you, I would have written Pre-Reformation, Reformation, and Counter-Reformation because those are the big three movements we're looking at. Now, before this time period, remember we listened to some Gregorian chant way back in semester 1. You probably wouldn't even call it music or singing because it was maybe one voice, one melody, very not even melodic, like just a hum or a chanting sound. But what happens in this time during the Renaissance is this movement in what's called motets. This is where there are lots of different parts still unaccompanied, but it becomes a little bit more musical. So we're going to start by going to the next one, just some other terms that you might encounter. Counterpoint is a term when those melodies in the motet go in different directions and offer a strong contrast to the main melody. The composer John Dunstable, who we're going to listen to in a second here, said that counterpoint is like a metaphor for the church, that there are lots of different parts working together in unison for the glory of God. Another thing we might hear is called imitation, where you have melodies repeated, imitated, and in different maybe patterns or styles. Isorhythm is where those melodies are maybe similar, but there's this variation in like how long the notes are. So it's like the same kind of theme, but little twists. And we're also going to see new polyphony, where there are lots of melodies. That's what would make a motet. Lots of melodies working at one time. And word or tone painting is something that we've seen before too, like when we listen to Respondemos in unit, I think it was unit 3 or 4, when the music follows the emotion or the subject matter of the song. And we see that even today, where people use word painting for music to match the type of words that are being said. So let's get into it. Our first composer that we have is John Dunstable. He was an English composer, like the notes say. He's pre-Reformation. Like I said, he's the one who said that counterpoint is a metaphor for the church. And so if you listen to John Dunstable, which I would suggest you do, go into our Google Classroom, find him and listen. Pause me here in a second, but listen for just what you hear. And when you're done listening, I'll recap what you probably should have heard. Okay, pause here. Okay, so you just listened to John Dunstable, and what I'm hoping that you heard in Bene Sancte Spiritus is it's a motet. There is polyphony, as in there are lots of different melodies happening at the same time, and you probably noticed it's very elaborate and complicated. You might not have been able to understand the words, which if we look at the translation here, you could see. It's complicated because it is in Latin and because there are so many layers of melodies. And this is what Martin Luther objected to. He couldn't, the people in church could not understand the lyrics perhaps for a few reasons. Not in their vernacular language, in Latin instead, and melodies all over the place. No like clear synthesis that makes it really easy to follow a melody or the words. And this was common before the Reformation got started. Really complicated music. If you want to try another one, Josquin des Prez is a French composer. Again, pre-Reformation, you should be hearing the same kind of thing. And in fact, we'll use the word Neoplatonism here, meaning these composers are trying to capture a heavenly beauty. Not for an average Joe, crappy singer, has no musical training, doesn't speak Latin. Like, these are not songs for those average kinds of people who would fill the churches. These are songs for trained, like probably career singers. And so that was one of Martin Luther's big objections, is people can't understand these words. People can't sing these songs. What is the point of this music other than just sounding really heavenly and beautiful? Okay. So let's take a pause there in just a second. Let's go to the Kyrie and listen for the same kind of thing we heard with John Dunstable. Okay, pause. Great. So you just pause and listen to the Kyrie. What you should have seen or heard was complexity. And if you look at this score, oh my goodness, you will see this is super elaborate. Like, look at the range here of these notes, the speed, and how there's 4 different melodies happening at the same time, and they're all very complicated, not working in unison so much together. Like, man, I'm in trouble if I'm this person trying to sing these notes that quickly. And then the other thing we could maybe just notice is, in this piece, there are really 3 words, okay? 3 words. Kyrie, eleison, and then Christe eleison. God, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy. But look how many notes cover just 3 words. And right here it's 2 words. So Martin Luther's complaint that this is really elaborate, complex music that most people couldn't memorize, couldn't sing, couldn't understand. Okay? Let's get a contrast now. So those were both pre-Reformation. We're going to skip ahead. This is what we did in class. We went right to Martin Luther. Let's hear his contrast. What does he say is so much better? Okay, so here's Luther. As we already discussed when we read him, he has many complaints about the Catholic Church, and one of the main ones is that the Word should be the focus. The Bible should be the focus. Even music, the words should be the focus, so average people can understand and participate in the Mass. And so here's a song that Martin Luther actually wrote. This is a hymn, and you're going to hear some serious differences from the pre-Reformation that we were just looking at. Pause now and listen to Mighty Fortress is Our God. Okay, you're back. So you just paused. Let's look at this score. Let's keep in mind what we saw before with des Prez. Okay, here's Martin Luther's score. Much simpler. Look at how, like, evenly paced, right? And we're seeing, as somebody in class noted, 1 note per syllable. Really simple. Also, this is in English. Of course, for Luther, it'd be in German. But people could actually sing the words. They could actually know what it was saying. The music is simple enough that they could participate. It's not reserved for just a special choir. And the music is simplified so that it's 1 melody, not a motet of lots of different melodies happening at the same time. Luther is our only example of Reformation music, although of course there's a lot out there. But hopefully you could hear the difference. When we're back in class together, we'll look at the Catholic Church's response. And so let's stop right there. Let me know if you have any questions or if I should clarify anything. Thanks so much.